Oh.
Inconceivable. The royal pyramid besieged. With the prophecy almost fulfilled, the arrival of Alamar has placed my mission and the fate of Xeen in grave danger. Queen Kalindra?
My pharaoh, I'm a prisoner. All is lost.
Then what has become of the cube?
I have it now, Pharaoh.
Alamar, you misguided mechanism. You'll destroy us all.
Okay. So,
My monstrous friends, are you with me?
Sir Alamar!
Traitors.
they all serve Alinar, the bad guy. Okay.
My friend Ellinger, you must send help.
But Pharaoh, I too am trapped in my tower.
Then I
Oh
will
my
send
God.
out the orb.
He's trapped.
The destiny of Xeen is no longer in our hands.
Oh my god.
Seek help, little one.
Here it comes. Wow, this is epic. Oh, he got zapped. Instantly. What's that? It's green materia. It's dropping through the sky. And it's got a message. And here's another piece of the puzzle. With fireworks. Okay. So, one of the people who has been very helpful in my Might and Magic playthroughs recommended that I watch the video there before I really get into the game so that I can better understand the context and the story. And I'm glad that I did. So now I know what all of these pictures are. Looks like we are dealing with Alanor, who is this individual here. And so he is some kind of machine gone rogue, perhaps. And then there is a princess or a queen, who's been kidnapped by Alinar that I need to help, as well as this other wizard guy who I need to help, and all the monsters are now serving Alinar. So I've got to help this dragon, who is a pharaoh of one of these pyramids, which remind me deeply of the pyramids from Might and Magic 3. And I saw a ship, which kind of looked like the ship that I left on in Might and Magic 3, but I'm not sure. In plot, so far, it reminds me of how Sheltum kind of turned against the creators, and maybe Alinar has done something similar, so we'll have to see. And I was informed that the way to best see that is by doing something very simple, which is to simply look at the manual for the game. And so, luckily, if you have purchased this game like I have on Good Old Games, you get access to that manual. Alright, so here we go. So here's the manual for World of Xeen in PDF format. And so let's go ahead and just kind of take some of this stuff in so that we might better acclimate ourselves to what's happening. So here's a cool ink sketch of one of the dragons. Thank you for purchasing World of Xeen. You're welcome. This special CD-ROM version of the game is really two games, Clouds of Xeen and Dark Side of Xeen, rolled into one with two differences. One, your characters are able to travel from one game to the other, doubling the size of the world available for exploration. Two, CD-ROM technology has made possible for the use of digitized speech in all places that call for it. And this is something I was talking about in my playthrough, video 1 on this series, which is how awesome it is that there is speech because of the CD-ROM format. The structure of the world of Xeen is a flat square. Travel between the two sides is easy. The pyramids scattered about Clouds of Xeen, which is where we start, can be used to travel to the pyramid and castle view on the dark side. And the castle view pyramid will take you to the pyramid outside Vertigo in Clouds of Xeen. So that's right, the pyramid that I saw right away outside Vertigo, which is the opening town. Rumor has it there may be other methods of traveling between the two sides. So this is really cool. This is kind of, even though visually and stylistically and in terms of a lot of the design choices, 4 and 5 look very much like 3. This idea of two games in one that you can switch between is a pretty revolutionary concept. In fact, it supersedes, or precedes, I should say, like, for example, Link to the Past, where you can go between the light world and the dark world, or the past and the present, and interact with the world meaningfully by making changes in the opposite dimension or whatever. So that's a really exciting concept. Now, Muppet Who also told me about doing this video and reading this information before I proceed, did warn me that I shouldn't go into the dark side too much because it will make the Clouds content a little too easy. It will like overpower me. And so I'm going to take that advice and just kind of proceed organically. Once you become a Flipside Explorer, you'll be able to complete those quests that require you to visit both sides of the world. Cool. I mean, what a cool design choice. The main quest in each of the two sides can be completed without a visit to the other, but there's a third major quest, an ending, that will require multiple trips between the two sides to finish. New World Computing invites anyone who completes any of the 3 major quests to send us your score. This is sweet. They did this with Might and Magic 3, where there's this, like, attitude of a high score, which to me is evocative of the arcade days, when high score mattered. You could enter your initials and become a local legend in your arcade. And this speaks to that. And you get a sweet certificate. Man, I would love to see one of those certificates of achievement. Alright, cool drawing of somebody. Let's see. The Sixth Mirror. Alright, so here's some good story info. You and a small circle of friends have gathered at a local tavern in Vertigo, where we start, to discuss the events of the last several months. Your conversation bobs and weaves among subjects in between drafts of ale, but the central topic is the vivid, recurring dreams you all shared starting 8 months ago. Uh-oh. The first dream, it arrived as a nightmare, frightening in its clarity and intensity. You all dreamt that you were listening to King Burlock's advisor, Crodo, speak to you. It was as though he were talking from a great distance, and the message seemed to have been addressed to someone else. This message is not a dream. That's pretty funny. I'm sorry to trouble your sleep in this manner, but I have no other way of communicating with you. A few months ago, a man claiming to be King Burlock's lost brother Roland arrived in court and announced himself to be king. Roland had left on a mission into Mount Firestone many years ago, looking for the passage to the fabled land below the land. That Roland should return home after all these years was very good news for the king, but I have my reservations. Where had he been all this time, and why hadn't he come sooner? Suspicious of him from the first, I watched him tell tales of ancient treasures and works of power. The artifact that Roland talked most about was the sixth mirror. The sixth mirror was the only magic mirror that was made to be portable, and because of this, it had no name. Huh. Just the sixth mirror. The owner of the mirror was able to step through it just like the other 5 mirrors, but he could take this one with him. Interesting. That Roland was obsessed with the mirror became increasingly clear with time, but the king did not seem to notice. Rather, King Burlock began to finance expeditions to find the lost mirror. It seems like that would draw attention to an obsession, that you're spending money on it. Many brave and powerful adventurers answered the call, but none succeeded. In spite of repeated failures, Roland urged the king to continue the search. Okay. As the search grew more feverish, King Burlock began to neglect his management of the realm. Jesus. The king's health deteriorated, the servants grew lax in their duties, and the treasury ran dangerously low. I felt that I had to do something and do it soon. That's not... Yeah, it seems like you waited a bit too long. I resolved to sleep on it and speak to the king in the morning. And again, you wait too long. It's classic. That very night, I awoke to the chill kiss of dark magic being worked nearby. Rising to my feet, I gathered my robe about me and quietly walked into the hallway. From there, I was able to hear muffled sounds coming from Roland's room. Cautiously, I crept up to Roland's room and looked through the keyhole. Now, that might not be the best. I mean, you want to give the king a little privacy, right? To my horror, I saw Roland sitting cross-legged, holding a black tome in one hand. That's fine. From a charcoal diagram on the floor arose the image of a foul spirit in the shape of a knight with horns cresting its helm. Okay, this is getting bad. Roland was conversing with it in a harsh tongue that I did not recognize, and it's horrible. I must have made some sound, for Roland abruptly turned and stared hard at the door. I backed away from the keyhole immediately, and it is well that I did, for the door suddenly blew off its hinges and slammed against the opposite wall. Fearing for my life, I ran. That's a pretty wise choice there. I ran as fast as my old bones would take me. Ran as though the forces of hell were at my heels, which they sound like they are. And they were. Okay, great. As I rounded the first corner of the hallway, screaming for help, the chill blast of Roland's winter magic narrowly missed me. We ran through the twisting halls of Burlock's castle, through rooms dusty with disuse, and through armories filled with rusting war tools. I took a turn and found myself cornered at the end of a hallway with no means for escape. Well, it's time to fight. In despair, I turned to face Roland and raised my magical defenses, knowing that he was stronger than I. Roland came charging around the corner and slowed down when he saw that I was cornered. Raising his hands above his head in preparation of a sorceress strike, Roland smiled and said, "What's the matter, Crodo? Are you afraid of what you saw?" Roland continued to approach me slowly. "Feeble old man, your fear of magic you don't understand is a discredit to our profession. I understand your evil magic well, Roland," I said hopelessly, slumping my shoulders and bowing my head. "I can't hope to win against such strength." With that I sighed, gathering my energies for one good blast. I looked up at Roland, who was still smiling and advancing, sighed again and threw my spell. The force of the dancing blade's spell, flying from me, pushed me back against a wall. Caught off guard, Roland failed to deflect the spell. How could you be caught off guard? There's an old man who's a spellcaster in front of you, cornered. The blades flew out from my hands, stripping the flesh from his body. Hope rose within me when I saw what I'd done to him, then despair when he still stood after the attack. Scraps of flesh clung to his grinning skull, disgusting, and his one remaining eye glared at me. Uh-oh, one eye. Is he the trainer in the town, Vertigo? No, I'm joking. I knew that Roland was undead and that I could not defeat him. "Who are you?" "Lord Xeen." Uh-oh, okay. "Call me Lord Xeen, king of the world, for that is what I shall be in a very short time." "King Burlock," I began, "will do as he is told, especially if he doesn't have you around to give him bad advice." Uh-oh. There was nothing more to be said. It would be tragic if I didn't have this information presented to me, so Crodo's tail doesn't die with him. Xeen made a peculiar gesture with his right hand and then clenched his fist. I felt a pressure on my defenses and on my head, which quickly grew intolerable. The blackness choked me and I knew no more. When I awoke, I found myself in a tower on an island surrounded by water. Wow, seems like a pretty serious lapse in judgment by Lord Xeen to just imprison this dude. From my window, I'm able to see King Burlock's castle across the water. Every day I see the search parties leaving the castle to look for the mirror and wonder if the king knows what, quote, Roland is. Or where I am. There's only one place in the world with a view like I have, and that is Baron Darzog's tower. Ah, I've been there. I know it well. Okay, let me just finish this then. Because of the materials used to construct the room I'm in, I'm unable to use my magic to escape. The only thing I can do is try to send these dreams to you in hopes that you will hear and respond. I don't know what Lord Xeen wants the mirror for, but it can't be good. Probably not. I fear the ruin of the realm if he succeeds. You are the only people in the world with the power and resources to make a weapon capable of slaying Lord Xeen in your laboratories in Newcastle. Wow, I have laboratories? Cool. You must make haste. If Lord Xeen discovers what you are doing, he will destroy you. With that, the dream ends. This dream had been repeated several times for about 2 months, then never again. The day after you had your last dream, Newcastle was destroyed, by a bolt from the sky, and all its inhabitants were killed. Each one of you realized that you may be the only person left alive who received the message. If you didn't do anything, nobody would, so you quit your jobs. Okay. Did we have jobs to return to when Newcastle was destroyed? And travel to Vertigo with your life savings. Here you were able to find training in spells and weapons, and here you met each other. And we are our first level. You talk late into the night, excitement and nervousness in your voices. As the conversation winds down and you are all getting ready, you agree that tomorrow is the day you will start your adventures. Okay. Log of the Dragon Pharaoh. Alright, so this is the bespectacled dragon that we saw in the video. And I might read this a different time. And then there's like a beginner's guide here to just playing. And I love this artwork that they put in here. It gives a very, very, 80s and 90s pen and paper, like D&D feel. It's awesome. Anyway, so now here's more information about some of the nuts and bolts of the game and the stats and things like that. And I think this is good enough information for me to then start the game itself and get into it. Because I feel like my just general knowledge of things plus playing the game before and playing 3 and playing D&D, so I am going to switch over and start there.